Well, like she said, we're Nannette Wiggins and Jane Mack. And the title of our talk is The Grand Opening. And I don't know that we ever really called it the grand opening in real life, what we're going to talk about today. But we are sisters. We live in Orem. We grew up in California. We were not homeschooled. Had great parents. Both of our parents and Jane's mother-in-law, all public school teachers. So we have a lot of public school background and parents that are wonderful teachers. Jane has 7 kids. I have 5 kids. She has
Almost 20.
almost 20 grandkids, and I have almost 19 grandkids. So, and some of them are in the room. And I'm serving a mission with LDS Family Services with addiction recovery. As my husband and I are on our 3rd mission. We just keep enjoying that work. And then Jane and her husband are serving at the MTC. Her husband is a branch president at the MTC. And we have been involved in homeschool for about 30 years. In some way or another. And now we get to participate as developers of the family school. And we're not the only developers. Heidi, right here. Heidi is the lovely lady who is writing all of our art lessons. And it's been a pleasure to work with her and with so many others that are working so hard on this project. So they asked us if we'd like to give a second talk at this conference. And one of the things we have wanted to talk about and hadn't really known how to talk about it is this idea of the opening. And so today we're going to introduce the idea of the opening, kind of get your curiosity up by playing very much a homemade family video that got made yesterday and last night. And
There's Mandy in living color.
See her back there. Sorry. And we appreciate her helping us put this together. But these are our children talking about.
So the ones that are Hodges are Nannette's kids, even though her last name is Wiggins right now.
Hi, I'm Mandy Hodges Guidry, and the thing that I love most about opening the flashcards, we had a wide variety of flashcards about trees, bones, leaves, flowers, Spanish words, and art prints. And I think that it really helped me to look at the world differently in a very fun way. It was an exciting way to continue learning and learning new things. The thing that I've loved most is teaching my children the same way. We've gone out and gathered. I taught my kids, what trees are in our surrounding area, and that's been really fun. Same with birds, and we're having a good time.
Hey, I'm James Hodges. I'm a homeschooled child from kindergarten through about 7th grade. The thing I remember most about the opening was just the routine, sort of the predictability of how we would start the day. And that was nice for me as a kid. Coming into it, I knew we were going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I knew we'd have a prayer every morning. And then we'd do poems and we'd do flashcards. One of my favorite highlights for me was the poems themselves. Keep It Going by Frank L. Stanton. The Drinking Fountain was another good one. I actually taught my own daughter, who's now 9, her name's Samantha, I taught her Keep It Going as well, which is really fun. She could say that poem when I think she was 7 at the time, and she could do the whole thing, and it's still something we repeat from time to time every morning as we start our day before the kids go off to school themselves. So that's what I remember most.
Hi, my name is Jen Hodges Stemmons. This is my son, McKay. And one of my favorite things about doing an opening when I was little is that still now, with my siblings, when we're around each other, we can get it we can say a part of a poem, or we'll just be having a conversation and we'll say a poem, we all know it, and or part of a scripture, and that's just something that I've always thought was really fun. Another thing that I think is really fun is that, and comforting to me, is that because when I was little I learned so many scriptures, it was easier in seminary as I got older to know the scripture mastery scriptures, and it was easier for me to memorize them. And still now when I hear those scriptures, I can almost say them word for word without looking at them, just because I learned them when I was little. So those are a few of my favorite things.
Hi, my name's Spencer Mack, and I really enjoyed the art flashcards during opening. And really enjoyed learning about the different artists and the works that they did. And when I was serving my mission in Europe and seeing some of those works of art in life made me appreciate them that much more.
Hi, my name's Kendra Hodges Wright, and a few of the things I remember about opening are the patriotic songs. I love the songs Take Your Hat Off, and I Love My Land America, and all the military songs. Those were really fun to learn. And a few other things I loved were learning the presidents of the United States from the bit cards. I remember being 6 and knowing the song and knowing all the presidents of the United States. So that's some of the things I loved about opening.
My name's Lamont Mack, and one of the things that I loved about the opening is we had an activity where we went all around our community and gathered leaves from different trees. And then we pressed them, and then we memorized the leaves, all the parts of the leaves, and also which trees they went to for our openings for the next while after that. And now I love to take my own children into the outdoors, and we spend a lot of time in the outdoors and can appreciate the trees that are around us in our community.
Hello, my name's Mary Beth Mack Wild, and the thing I loved about most about opening was the songs that we learned and the poems that we learned. Sometimes I feel like my life is a musical because everything applies to a song that I learned in homeschool. And I loved them so much that when I was in high school, I made my own opening notebooks. So I have all the songs and poems and scriptures collected that we learned, and flashcards that we learned when we were in homeschool.
Hi, my name is Todd Mack, and I'm supposed to talk about what I remember most about openings, and the thing that stuck with me most, I would say, are the poems and the songs, but probably especially the poems. So things like The Goops, and
He lives with the Goops.
Two Roads Diverged in Yellow Wood, and Keep It Going, and I think that I shall never see a thing as lovely as a tree, and they're all things that I have taught my own kids, and that just are like ingrained in my psyche. So.
Hi, I'm Amy Mack White, and one of my favorite parts of opening was memorizing the scriptures. It helped me a lot when I reached seminary and institute because I'd already memorized a lot of the mastery scriptures. I also enjoyed listening to conference talks and talks in sacrament meeting and being able to recognize scriptures that were being quoted. And now I'm able to teach my kids some of the same scriptures that I memorized in homeschool that are very beneficial to me and them.
My name is Andrew Hodges, and my favorite part of opening would definitely be the flashcards that we learned. We memorized geography. I loved memorizing the lakes, the rivers, the different countries. I also really enjoyed the songs that we learned. I can name all the presidents of the United States through song. I can name composers, all the composers through song. I can say all of the prepositions in the English language through song. So, yeah, really enjoyed opening.
Hi, my name is Jane Mack Wheeler, and my favorite part of opening was when we learned songs, because they were all very interactive and really fun. My favorite song that we learned was The Little Red Hen, because it was just fun. Everybody seemed to enjoy it, and I hope to teach my daughter when she gets older all the songs that I learned in the home.
So are you a little bit curious? Probably really that probably pretty much says it right there. Today we're going to try to answer the question, So what is the grand opening? What does it consist of? Why do we have it? When do we do it? Where do we do it? Who comes? How do we do it? Where do we get our ideas? How do we stay organized with our materials? And what are the rewards for doing it? So these are the questions. We hope, oops, hope this is still working. Okay. So those are the questions we hope to be answering in the next hour.
Oh, my turn. Okay. All right. So what is the opening and what does it consist of? The opening is a brief time. We try to have it be about, I don't know, how long, Jen? 15 minutes to a half hour? 25 minutes, so about that long. Where the kids, the children, all the children in the family gather together and do this together. We generally start out with a pledge. We have a prayer. We have a patriotic song. We have a review scripture and a new scripture, a review poem and a new poem, a flashcard review, a review song, and a new song. No. No.
One that
There's one they're working on that's a new one, and one that's a review from the past that they're just being reminded of.
No.
No. When do we do it? We always do our opening at the beginning of the family school portion of the day. So this is not your devotional part where you're doing family scripture study. This is something to just begin your family school part of the day. Where do we do it? We like to do it in a relaxed setting. So in the living room, family room. We haven't ever had the children all sit at the table to do something like this. It's more informal. So who comes? We invite everyone in the family to come. Sometimes the little ones, McKay, Jenny's little boy McKay, he doesn't like it right now. He's little and he is off and running with the toys. But we invite everyone to come. We've had kids the other day when we did our filming. Gracie wasn't feeling good, Jenny's little girl, but she was there. And even though she wasn't completely participating in everything, she was there. She was hearing it. She was being exposed to it. And so we invite everyone, though, all ages. I think that's it.
Okay. So, for fun, we decided to actually go. We have a little cooperative homeschool that's mostly family, and then some others that have become part of our family, really, our family homeschool over the years. And so we went this week to their school and actually filmed these parts. And what we want you to leave here today with, I mean, this is such a simple concept. I don't know how we thought we could turn it into an entire hour, but maybe we can. But we wanted to leave you with this concept because it's just such a fun, uniting part of the morning, and it has some really good, just very rewarding things that we'll talk about in a minute. But we're going to show you some parts of, just so you see it. Do you ever wish that you could go into somebody's house and be a fly on the wall in somebody's homeschool? I always felt like that. I thought, oh, she seems like she has such a great homeschool. I wish I could just, go to Karen Arneson's homeschool and just watch it, or Jill Bigelow's, or anybody. I just wanted to look. So we're going to let you peek in at our little homeschool at the opening. So the first thing we have is the pledge.
Okay, I hope this works.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we have the pledge, and you can see that the flag they were using, it wasn't like, the flag at Reams or the flag at Macy's. It was just a little flag that we can kind of keep with our opening materials, and they don't know any better, and they think it's an honor to be able to hold the flag. We almost always have the child. This is several families, how many? Well, during the week we have
Fewer children.
a couple of families that work together, and then on Fridays when we have art, music, and literature, we have a couple of families that join us. So our little opening grows and shrinks. And, we almost always have the person who does the pledge say the prayer, because just
They're right there.
keep things organized. And they think that's special, and they take turns. So I don't think we filmed a prayer. So the next thing we have is a patriotic song, and we have a little list of patriotic songs, and we just rotate through these patriotic songs. We don't have them, oh, this is the one I want to sing, or, you know, because they might not ever choose to sing some of the ones they really should know and sing. So here's our patriotic song. Maybe. We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about it at the end. Yeah, I'm going to. It's on the list.
Well, why don't you talk about
okay,
it?
So
because I don't know where
I'll
to find this.
Okay, we sing a patriotic song, and maybe we'll just skip the patriotic. Oh, you're missing a lot.
I think I'm missing a bunch of things.
Oh, that fellow was helping you, huh?
Yeah, I thought that everything that was on the disc.
Okay, I'm just going to keep talking.
You just keep talking.
I'm going to keep talking. We'll show you the video at the end if it all works out. The next thing we're going to talk about. So we do the pledge, we do the prayer, we sing patriotic songs. We just have this little list, and we've just collected the list over the years. You know, what songs would you put on the list? Tell me, what songs would you put on the list? Your Grand Old Flag, that's on our list. My Country 'Tis of Thee, America the Beautiful. Right, the Star Spangled Banner. We sing What's More American Than Baseball. I'm not sure how patriotic that is, but the kids love that song. What other songs are on that list, Jen? Okay, Yankee Doodle, Take Your Hat Off, the President's Song. So, you know, it's kind of a short list, but we just filter through that list. After we do that, we do a review scripture. And so you know, when you're a homeschool mom, you like to keep things in review because you've really invested in teaching your child this scripture or this information, and you hate for it to just go by the way, you know. And so a lot of times when our kids are in a public school situation or a private school situation, we're not really aware of what they're learning or what they've memorized, what they've been taught. But when you're the teacher, you know, you want your kids to keep remembering what they've learned. So we always review a scripture, and then we teach a new scripture. And we do it just a little bit at a time. The mom will say, okay, this is the new line.
Okay, I got this.
You do?
I can at least show that.
Oh, good.
Hey, our review scripture is Mosiah 5:2. Okay? And they all cried with one voice, saying, Yea, we believe all the word which thou hast spoken unto us, and also we know of their surety and truth, because of the Spirit, Lord omnipotent, which has wrought a mighty change in us or in our hearts, that we have no more disposition to do evil, but to do good continually.
Okay, now, your, just so that you know, do you know how she had the picture up and they were reading off of that? She does, or not the picture, the words to the scripture. So it's been a while since they had reviewed that one, and so she had them read it, and then she put it down, and then they said it again. So just so you know there. And then
the little redhead that's sitting there, she's the one that doesn't feel good, you know.
Okay, hang
so
on
that's
here.
just how it is.
Hey, our review scripture is Mosiah 5.
Oh, this is it. Okay, so that's it.
Okay. So you get the idea of that.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So when we teach a new scripture, we take it really just a line at a time. You're teaching some pretty tiny kids here, some pretty, you know, pretty hefty scriptures. And so we take it slowly. We explain what the scripture means to us, and we try to help the children understand what it might mean to them as we teach this scripture. So so they're not just learning words. And we just take it kind of a line at a time and just add a little bit as we feel like they're ready to learn a little bit more. So that's how we do the new scripture. Do you have a new scripture?
Nope.
Okay. The next thing we do is the poem. So we review a poem, and then we add a new poem. And we keep the new poem going until most of the kids know the poem pretty well.
Okay, I have a new poem.
You have a new poem?
Mhm.
Oh, right there's a review poem.
Okay, let's do review first.
There you go. Now, some of these kids were really tiny when this poem was taught, so they're not going to know it as well.
A couple poems, okay? Unless you let it in. And you guys remember the author? Good, because there is no one. Oh. Okay. The author unknown. Okay, here we go. All the water in the world, however hard it tries, can never sink the smallest ship unless it gets inside. And all the evil in the world, the blackest kind of sin, can never hurt you in the least.
Tired children or something. I don't know what the yawning is about.
All right. Review poem.
So
and
the
a new
opening
poem.
is meant to be fun. You know, it's kind of a lighter part of our homeschool.
Okay, I have a new poem.
Okay, so here's our new poem, so you can kind of see how she teaches a poem.
Learning, a bird came down the walk. Can I remember who it's by? Emily Dickinson. Close. Emily Dickinson. Okay. It's okay. Okay, let's see how much we learned the first stanza and half of the part of the second one. Let's see what we can do. Okay. A bird came down the walk. I did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in half and ate the fellow raw. And then he drank the dew from a convenient grass, and then hopped sideways to the wall to let a beetle pass. Okay, guess what? I noticed the other day that I taught it to you wrong. It's not sideways, it's sidewise. I was going to look up why she would use that word, but it is sidewise. So it's, and then hopped sidewise to the wall to let a beetle pass. I have to really think about that when we do it, because it's different than what we're used to. So it's sidewise? Sidewise. You know what sidewise is, Melinda? Why would you use sidewise?
I think it means basically the same thing.
Sideways, but it's just a different word. But we're going to really, but we talked about that we really have to think when we're doing Emily Dickinson's poem, because it's a little bit different than what we're used to. So let's try that again, okay?
So
And
they
then
try it
hop
again.
Sidewise to the wall. Repeat after me. And then hop
You see it's
sidewise
slow.
to the wall to let a beetle pass. Let's do it one more time to get it into our head.
Some of these kids in this group,
And then hop
you can turn it.
sidewise.
Some of the kids in this group, they're visiting cousins, but they do the family school in St. George, and they know the drill. They don't know this poem, but you can see that they're like sitting there trying to say it along. So our little opening grows and shrinks. The next thing we do that is such a fun part of what we do in the mornings and gives us a lot of common knowledge is our flashcards. Now, when we first started teaching our own children in the home, if you were in our last class, we explained to you that we had this opening, and then the rest of the day, the kids, we just tutored one child at a time, in and out all day long, and we didn't teach anybody the same material the rest of the day. Everybody was on their own track. Everybody had their own history, their own science, their own math. Everything was individual like that. So we really fell in love with this opening idea because it was the only time of day that we were really all together learning the same thing. And so one of the things we decided to do was create picture cards because we had tiny kids. Jane and I both had babies the summer before, the year the half a year before we started homeschool in the fall, we both had new babies. So we had little tiny children. But our feeling was that if we showed them picture cards, that everybody could be on the same page, really, literally. They could be learning the same information. And so we spent a lot of time collecting pictures of lots of things, all the kinds of things we would want our kids to know. We found a set of cards that had pictures of the presidents of the United States. And we went to the alphabet station and we found a poster that it was for a bulletin board. But we took it and we cut out all the musical instruments and we made musical instrument flashcards. We cut up calendars and made bird flashcards. So we would take a little set of these in the morning and we would show them to the children. We would say, I don't know, we even put the colors, just the colors. We had little tiny red, blue. And we would say the card and they would repeat it after us. And then pretty soon they would get so they knew that set of cards well enough to just go piccolo, trombone, kettle drum, violin, viola. They could say them with us instead of after us. And that's the simplest way we found. At first we tried to have lots and lots of flashcards from different kinds of categories. And then we decided that was too complicated to keep lots of different categories going. So we would just choose one category and learn it or review it every morning. And so that was fun.
So do you want to give just some other little ideas? Like in geography, we would do the, we had flashcards for all the different geographic terms like lake, island, river, canal. Those were things that we did in geography. Also, if we're studying, we did continents. So we would do all of the countries in a continent. And the big kids, they got to where they could say the capital and the country, and the little kids could just, if they could learn any of the countries, we were glad. Or bodies of water. Anyway, all those kinds of things we did for geography. For science,
we went to the alphabet station, and it was back in the days where you mimeographed things off. But we bought this book, and it had all the bones in it. So we went and we made copies of this skeleton, and then we just colored the bone that we were interested in the children knowing. So we would hold up a card, and the clavicle would be colored orange. And so we'd say clavicle, scapula, frontal lobe, whatever it was. We would just, and so I'll talk a little bit more about what happened with that later, but that was fun. So we found books, we went and found history books that were literally in the trash at school district offices, just things that they absolutely weren't going to use anymore. And we would bring these history books home, and we would cut out the pictures and put together history flashcards. So we could hold up a card and say pyramid, Sargon of Akkad. We had this little set of ancient history flashcards that we went through. We took a map of the United States, and we made 50 copies, and we colored each state. We had to do this all by hand. There were no computers. So then California, Oregon, Washington, and it was a lot of fun.
I have to say that for the youngest, when you have kids, as these sets grow or as you review or whatever, if the younger kids don't know it, the thing that's good is its exposure. It's vocabulary exposure. So they might not know it's California, but they're going to hear California over and over, or Uzbekistan or something like that. It's just growing their little brains in a different way. And so the review is always, the review for some of the children in your family as they get older is new. Also in the family school, if you're using the family school, we are working our little tails off to get you some good flashcard sets so that you will just be able to scroll down, or you'll have your own hard copies, but you'll have flashcards for each of the subjects. It has a set of flashcards. Karen's working on the history. We've got science flashcards. We've got art flashcards. So we've got a lot of stuff already here so that you won't have to, but if there's something outside the realm of what we're feeding you, throw it in.
Yeah, just something fun that you find. Sure.
How long stick to something before you go, okay, they're getting bored of this, this is moving on, even though it's not like sticking up here?
Oh, this is fast.
Well, yeah, it's really fast.
You're not doing a lesson per card. You're just going
You're
red,
saying-
blue, yellow. And you maybe choose 10 cards, 20 cards, you know, whatever. Just, it's very quick. It's not this is not a teaching time. That happens during the subject.
So we started with birds, and I still remember that. Do you guys remember that set of birds? You know, kingfisher, saw-whet owl. You know, we cut up a calendar and got going. And it was a really fun idea in our family. So we don't have the geography review up there,
No.
right? Okay.
No. Sorry.
All right. Well, it was really cute. If you had been able to see it, it was really cute. They reviewed Earth science, and it was really quite amazing what these kids were learning from Earth science last year. She would say that the name of they were doing the core and the mantle, and then she would ask them questions. She has a little bit of information written on the back of the card, like she would hold up, she would hold up the inner core. So she had the earth drawn on a piece of paper, and then she only had the core, or the inner core, or the mantle color. And then she would hold the card up, and they'd say, "That's the core," and she'd say, "Is it solid or liquid?" And they would tell her. They were remembering these things, little bits of information, little bits of encyclopedic information, and it really helps the kids feel like they're alive to learning, and like the world is, you know, they walk past trees, and they're they can say, some of my grandkids little tiny grandkids, 4-year-olds can say, "That's a honey locust," or "That's a weeping cutleaf birch." They can say little things like that. It's pretty fun. So the last thing we do when we do this is we review a song and we learn a song.
Okay, I think I've got that.
What you got?
Do I have anything? Here's a review.
Okay, well,
Here's a fun review.
Okay, we can do that. But let me say, before we play this, I want to say that we like to learn things that are serious and things that are silly.
Oops, sorry.
That is their review one, the supercalifragilistic.
Do you want me to play that one?
Yeah, do it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, today for singing we're going to review supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Okay, so it starts, how does it start? You guys remember?
Supercalifragilistic.
It actually starts with It does. Okay, so here we go.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious, if you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I'm the little lie, because I was afraid to speak when I was just a lad. Me father really knows a tweak and told me I was.
Okay, you get the idea? So we try to pick things that are serious, things that are short, things
Here's
that are
a serious
long.
one. Here's a serious one.
Christianity song.
Okay. Okay, push pause for just a minute.
I don't know if I can.
Okay, don't push pause.
Before the world began.
Just
Ready?
listen.
Okay, here we go.
Back before the world began, God presented, and He knew just how His story would unfold. Thus the Savior was prepared that all mankind might be spared. Listen now of Christ, His story is retold. The creation and the fall, He created great and small. To return we need to learn to keep His laws. Abraham and
Karen's our history teacher, and she talks in her lessons about the chain of Christianity. And one of our moms that was involved in our school for a long time wrote a song with a verse about each of the links in the chain of Christianity. So that's songs, like Andrew said, he can see. We made up a song for
The prepositions?
for all the prepositions. We made up that very famous song about the continents.
Yeah.
North America, South America. That was mine. Thank you. Very, very complex song. Anyway, fun. You know, you can make up songs for your kids and there are a lot of songs out there. All the Singing Smart songs, all those kinds of songs can help our kids sing information that will be with them the rest of their lives and help them. So that's really fun. What else do you have there that's interesting?
I've got this, the flying and the peanut butter.
Oh, we'll
Is
do
there
that.
anything
Let's
else?
do that in just a minute.
We
So
should
we
have
teach
Jenny.
a new song. We teach a
Jenny.
new song. Okay, we have 20 minutes though.
Okay.
So I think we're good. All right. So where do the ideas come from for the opening? First of all, they can come out of the curriculum. They can come right out of the curriculum because those of you who are teaching family school curriculum know that we often suggest singing a song, or we point you towards a poem that's fun. That there was the poem, well anyway, I won't be able to remember it, but anyway, some of the poems that are in your curriculum are poems that we taught our kids years ago, and while we're writing we think, oh, we should use that poem, that's the perfect poem for right there. So what would be nice, and what none of us have done, Karen writes the history, we do the geography, Heidi does the art, and we have not collected those things into a common place, which would be really nice. If we could say, these are all the year one scriptures, this is all the year one poetry, these are all the year one songs that were introduced during a lesson. Kendra's going, yes, that would be really nice, Mom. So down the road, I think that is a great idea. But that, if you can make note of that too.
And if you find something that's really good for a lesson, if you would go on the family forum and send a note to us, we would really appreciate it too.
Because we'll put it in, version 3, it'll be there.
Or we can stick it, we can add it to, or anyway, it can go out to everybody and people can know.
So the poems, the songs, the scriptures, the music, and the flashcards from the family school curriculum. The other thing you can do, as we've shared with you today, is you can find your own fun things. There are things that you wish we're a very musical family, and I wanted my kids to know the musical instruments. You might not really care about that, but you might want them to know, all the animals that live in Australia. That might be important to you. So whatever's important and fun to you, you can always add in. It's very fun. So we've used calendars, we've used church magazines. The very first art prints, Heidi, that I ever captured and glued on a card, they all came from the backs of the old Relief Society manuals. The Children Playing on a Beach was back there, and by Mary Cassatt. And there were those very first ones were from the cultural refinement lessons, and I got them at the DI and I tore them out, and shoot me now for tearing things out of books. Oh dear. Anyway, also internet, as Jane said, we never had the internet. And you can't really send your kids to images this and images that, but there's no reason why you can't type in polar bear images and come up with a great picture of a polar bear if you want to make your own cards. Postcards. Both of us have created wonderful sets of these flashcards as we travel. One year I traveled to Washington, D.C., and in a minute I'll tell you what I did with these cards, but I collected a card from every place we went, from the Smithsonian. I had the Wright Brothers plane, I had the Spirit of St. Louis, I had a pouch that had food in it at this Air and Space Museum. Oh God, it was so fun, it makes me cry. Sorry. It's just so fun to do that kind of thing. And I guess that's why we're so excited to share it with you, because it has been so meaningful in our own lives. Air and Space Museum. Oh, God. So anyway, we collected. I collected leaves. The kids all mentioned leaves. I took a leaf from a tree at Mount Vernon. Don't tell. It was a leaf. Come on. Anyway, and I pressed it, and I came home, and I made a card out of it that says that this was from where George Washington lived. So that it would have even a little bit more meaning. So collect them anywhere. Old textbooks, conference talks. I loved, like, when I chose the poem to teach my kids, I love you, Mother. I love you, Mother, said little
John, forgetting his cap.
Forgetting his
Cap is work.
Yes, see, my kids know better than I do. But anyway, I found that because one of the prophets, probably President Monson, said that poem years ago in a conference talk. And so there are some of those. There's a great poem called The Oyster, and that came out of a conference talk. So the brethren are aware of great literature as well. Like I said, it's good to have variety. Fun poems. When I climb up to get a drink, it doesn't work the way you think. I turn it up, the water goes and hits me right upon the nose. I turn it down to make it small and don't get any drink at all. That was one of our early poems. Academic poems, like James says he knows all, or who said they knew all the composers? This is what he knows how to do. Bach, Brahms, Beethoven, Bartok, Haydn, Mozart, Schubert, Schumann, Peter Tchaikovsky, and Igor Stravinsky. So in his mind, that's all the composers. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Pretty good, though.
So there's poems that teach us, learning poems. Serious poems. If you strike a thorn or a rose, keep it going. If it hails or if it snows, keep it going. Inspirational kinds of things. Things that are so short that your tiniest little girl, my little tiniest little kids could say, I saw a little snowflake falling from the sky. It played a little joke on me in the eye.
Or the world is so full of a number of things. I think we should all be as happy as kings.
Just small things. Poems for holidays. We're not going to give you a lot of that in the family school, but there are beautiful poems that have to do with holidays and with seasons. Goodbye, my winter suit. Goodbye, my hat and boot. Fun things. So now, with all that said, someone over here asked, how do you keep this all organized and going, right? And so we've invited our daughter Jen, who is in charge of keeping this.
Because she really is, I'm practically her mother. So
That's right.
Our daughter.
She's going to come up and talk to us about how she keeps it organized, because she does it ever so much better than we did.
Yes.
Good teachers, mothers.
Okay.
Do you want to?
Should I give her a mic? This one right here? Okay.
Okay. So this is the opening bucket. Do you want to turn it around, Jen? I will. I'm going to show them the back. So this is the opening bucket, and as you can see, we have the kids who are in our group most of the days on this. I just made it cute like that, so that we know who's in charge of flag. Ethan, my son, did the flag that you guys saw, so we know starting on the next week when we have school, we know who's next. Alexa will do the next time. So we just do it in order of age. You can do it however you want, but it's just it just helps them remember. Or if you just have a certain amount of kids, you know your one child has it Tuesday and the next child has it Wednesday. You can figure out how to do it. But they've loved being able to know how the order to do it in. We've done different ways of doing this, and as you can see, I didn't make this fancy just because this is reality, right? And things have been in here a long time and things are breaking. But we've done notebooks where we have them all in a notebook, but it's hard to know when you're like, did we review that one last time? It's hard to remember where you are. And I was always opening and closing the notebook and putting the last one. You saw that Jill was pulling up this thing, right? So we just know that the next thing is in the front. So I always keep my flag in here in the front. I keep 2 flags because my 2-year-old insists that he hold a flag as well. So he always gets a flag as well. So I keep a flag in there. And then at the front I have patriotic songs. And like I said, if you're starting this, don't feel like you have to have a bucket like this to start. Start slow, teach one song, and then when you're done
put that one in review, put that patriotic song in review, and then teach a new one. But don't feel like you have to have a huge bucket to start. So we have our review songs, and you guys are more than welcome. We'll just leave this up here. Feel free to look through it. Just remember where you pulled the stuff out of. So we have a patriotic song to review, and then patriotic songs to learn. A couple times a year, maybe once or twice a year, we'll try to teach a new patriotic song maybe that they've never heard before during our teaching song time. Or we will teach, right now we're trying to teach the kids a new verse to one of the songs we find, a patriotic song we find in the hymn book. Because they don't learn all the verses to My Country 'Tis of Thee, or the Battle Hymn of the Republic, or whatever. So that's what we do there. And then the review scriptures, scripture mastery scriptures are some of the best to learn to start with, and also the ones that are in the curriculum if you're using the American Heritage curriculum. That works really, really well. I like to keep a few in review or into scriptures to learn. That way, of all different sizes. Anything from 2 or 3 sentences to a big giant scripture. That way, I kind of know what I'm in the mood for, or I can think, well, we're having Thanksgiving holiday in a week, so what do I have time to teach them before we go out of school for a certain amount of time? Does that make sense? So I'll grab a shorter scripture. So just to have a few in scriptures to learn, or the things to learn, helps. I do the same thing for the poems, same thing for the songs. You don't have to know how to play the guitar to do music. That's something that I
have to know 3 chords.
And you really can just be really good at 3 chords. You weren't supposed to let out my secret. So that's what older sisters are for, right? So you lost my train of thought. Maybe it was my train of thought. So I also keep a little section back here for the different holidays. There's certain things that we've gotten. The kids just look forward to singing these certain songs at Christmas time, or these certain songs at Thanksgiving, or whatever. So I keep some holiday poems and scriptures and songs, and they all go in this one thing. So at 2 weeks before Christmas, we'll pull these songs out, and we'll do those instead of all of this. So that's kind of how I make it work. I did look at, we come from a very musical family, so a lot of these songs were songs and scriptures and poems that I got from my moms. Where'd she go? Oh, just kidding, my mom and my aunt. And then other things I just Googled, like, there's a website, I think it's like a United States national, I don't even know what it was. I just said, songs children should know. And it had Disney songs, it had Oh Susanna, it had Clementine, it had, and you could click on it and listen to it over and over and over and over till you got it.
I think that's the beauty of all of the songs. You pretty much can hear any song you ever
Yeah,
wanted to learn.
yeah, totally. And then also for holiday songs and stuff and poems, like I would just put in fun kids Halloween song or whatever, and they're all over the place. I once did that, and I was trying to get to school and leave, and I saw Purple People Eater was one of them, and it is a song from like way back when. And I printed it, and the tune was in my head, like I could hear it before, and so I took it, and that is our kids' very, very, very favorite song to sing. They love it. So, and I like to play it on my guitar too. I think it's fun. But so that's kind of how we do it. So don't feel like you have to know every song and know everything, but just start simple. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
When you start a new thing, how long do you keep it new until you move it into the review?
You know what? I like to say to have them do it without me, or any other teachers there saying it.
So for like my 5, almost 6-year-old, that could be like.
It could be forever.
It
really could be forever. So you know what? If you're sick of it and you can tell she's then just put it in review. And sometimes if I've just taught something and it's ready to go in review, I don't stick it at the end. Because I mean, like our kids know this is their scriptures. Like they know this many scriptures. So there's no way, like we get maybe through all those in a year, or maybe some of them twice a year. So I'll stick it towards the front so I know we're going to do it in the next week or 2, and then see if they're catching it again, if they still are getting it. Does that make sense? So
you put them all in those plastic.
Yeah, well, yeah. If in perfect life, yes, but like I've run out of, it's all sorts of whatever. Just don't judge me for the box. Yeah.
Are your flashcards in there?
So I pulled these ones out because these just slide in, but most of the flashcards we've used are in bigger binders. So these ones have just been in here for like 2 years. So on days we don't have access, like we can't run down to the basement or whatever to grab them. then we'll just use these. So these are, you guys can look at these. These are our South America fit card or flashcards. We leave them in. Usually, yeah, we usually stick them in so the mom can. Oh my gosh.
Are they all full page like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you ever see ones that they're sewing?
So here, ladies of the homeschool. So this is how you do it. The Nassau, you know these, you taught these. Nassau, the Bahamas.
Nassau, the Bahamas.
So I say it and then they say it. Puerto Rico, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
San Juan, Puerto Rico.
So then you just flip them down, and even in a 3-ring binder, if you write what it is on the back top, you'll be good. And then you can, oh heavens. And you will also notice, I didn't teach opening here because on the screen a minute ago, because my 2-year-old just is not happy during opening, and so I decided to give my friend Jill the job for a little bit. But you'll find that it's hard to learn it because you're always looking at it. So Jill used to make fun of me because I would be reading it and then I wouldn't know it. But it's really hard to memorize if you always have access to it. Does that make sense? So as the mom, you're going to be really familiar with it, but you might not get it as much as they're going to get it in their heads because you're always making sure that they're not going to miss the next thing. Does that make sense? That's been kind of funny to watch. Jill and I just laugh about it all the time now. Did anybody else have any other questions? Yeah.
This might sound silly, but where do you get scripture mastery from, besides trying to remember it from seminary?
Oh, no, you're good. On the church website.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, yeah. Or if you looked up institute curriculum or things, seminary curriculum, yeah, they're all there. Yeah, they're really accessible. No, that's a great question.
They have an app that quizzes for me.
Yeah.
And if you don't play the guitar, like me.
If you don't play the guitar.
I just get like the church children's songbook without the words, and we just sing the song.
Yeah, perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be a great player.
We are not professional.
No, heavens. Like my sister divulged. Thank you, Jen.
All right, well, so the rewards. About the rewards of doing this. One is just the daily routine, like James said. You know, you knew what was coming. This is what we do. When mom says, come in the family room for opening, the kids all know what that is. The reward of just seeing your children. I told this story in the last class, but when Jenny was 6 and her dad took her to the church museum, and she walked in and said, Dad, that's Gethsemane by Harry Anderson. It was probably by Howie Anderson, you know. Tell about.
Well, I just was thinking, and this could be totally mixed up right now, but Janine, when you were doing the flashcards with your kids and you were teaching anatomy, and Carter, you were teaching Abby, and Carter was really little, and didn't he say something like, "My gluteus is killing me," and he was really, really little.
He was 2.
He was 2. My gluteus is killing me. So it really gives, and you know, I mean, he couldn't read. I mean, but yeah.
So it gives it reinforces their learning, and it gives them a lot of confidence. You know, when Grandma and Grandpa come by and they say, "Would you like to, you know, tell Grandpa all the presidents of the United States?" and they're tiny little kids, they really are capable of a lot. With the anatomy cards, one thing that came out of that is that I called BYU to see if we could go down there and look at a skeleton, and when we got down there, they asked us if we wanted to go in the cadaver lab, and I was like, I had all these little kids with me. But they were so fascinated with the bones. And so I took them all aside and I said, they said that you can go into this place called the cadaver lab, and I explained to them the respect we should have for the body and the gratitude we should have for people who have donated their bodies so that doctors and nurses and scientists could learn more about our bodies. And all of us went into the cadaver lab, and they made it very, you know, modest and good for all these little kids. It was an amazing experience. Just the commonality that all your kids know something all together. The poem Keep A Goin'. All my letters to my missionaries, I signed Keep A Goin', Love Mom. And they know what that means because they know that poem.
Even also in like the cousins, when the cousins all get together, it can be kind of funny. Like Jenny's mentioned in her in the introduction, when sometimes they'll just be saying something and then out comes a poem or out comes a something when they're all together, and they'll laugh and say it or whatever. It's a pretty common thing because they have so many things in common. So
I'll never forget the day after I had finished teaching the Helaman 512, and it was conference. And they must have said Helaman 512 6 times during conference. The kids just kept going, we know that, we know that. And what I did with the cards from Washington, D.C., because we have to quit, is I came home and I glued them all on a card. And then I cut out of felt the Potomac River, what do they call that?
The basin.
The basin.
The tidal basin.
The tidal basin and the mall. And I laid all these cards all around it. And I taught the kids what it looked like to go to Washington, D.C. And we'd never been there, but I promised them that someday we would go there. And so I'll never forget the day we were there. And we were standing up high where you could look down and you could see the whole mall. And somebody, I don't know, one of you girls probably just looked out and said, it's just like you said. It's just like you said. What a great experience. We're just grateful to have been able to share this idea of the grand opening. It is grand. And thank you for coming to our class.